Welcome to season 2, episode 14 of the Subway Conversation Chat. I'm your host, Jamie Malloy, and I'm ready to talk some New York Yankees and New York Mets baseball with Joe Dallio, my co-host. So without any further ado, here's Joe. Hey, Joe, how's it going?
There I am. I'm doing great, Jamie. How you doing?
I'm good. A lot of baseball to talk about, the Subway Series, what's going to happen for our teams moving forward, the ever popular injury report. That was sarcasm.
Right. Yes, and only 2 times a year do we get to talk about both our teams at the same time here, basically getting together. It's been a beautiful summer so far here too. Except for today, I wanted to do the show on location again, a la my backyard, like I did last week. But we got some rain today. It was a little too wet to go out there. But and as I say that, last I checked, the Mets were on a rain delay here. So, but I guess one bad day out of 7, we can't complain too much, right?
Mm-hmm. So, Joe, would you want to start us off with Mets highlights?
All right, I could certainly.
Yeah, I wonder who they played this past series. I'm just kidding.
Yeah, I have to dig into my archives here and take a look. And we'll talk about the stats from those games a little bit later in the show. I'll just go over some of the transactions and injuries right now. The Mets brought up some guy named Justin Hageman. I believe I'm pronouncing that right, from Syracuse. And he pitched, I believe. He did all right. And other news here, the 4th, this is as of the 4th of July, Brooks Raley, middle relief depth, as I always say, was on a rehab assignment at Syracuse, should be coming back with the team pretty soon. They also signed a guy named, a free agent, catchy name here. His name is Zach Pop, except they must see something that I don't, because as I looked at the stats and everything and what he's done, and even with the Mets here, no pop that I saw. He had a rough outing against the Yankees. He actually pitched in one of those games. And on the season, he's pitched 6 2/3 innings and given up 15 hits and 11 earned runs. So I trust the Mets brass. Maybe they see something that we don't, but hopefully he pops into the regular rotation because of some consistency here. Now, you were just making a comment about that ever popular injury report, and it just seems like it won't go away from the Mets this year. Jose Butto on the 4th of July, these are all as of the 4th here, as of last Friday. Jose Butto on the 15-day IL for what they call an unspecified illness. So don't know what that's all about, but he's been on the IL since the weekend and will be for another little while here. Somebody that hasn't really given them too much as far as excellent pitching, but has been there when they needed him, Dedniel Nunez. They're thinking he may need Tommy John surgery, and he was doing okay at like a 4.66 ERA. Like I said, nothing special, but you can't have too many arms in that middle relief. So he'll certainly be missed, especially if he needs to be out for an extended period of time. And, I mentioned that rehab start by Brooks Raley in Syracuse there. Some more maybe positive news on the horizon. This is all as of today. Kodai Senga, who's had that hamstring issue, he's throwing a bullpen session today. They're saying he could be back in the rotation by the weekend when the Mets play the Royals. So we'll keep our fingers crossed with that. Sean Manaea might be in the same boat here. He's making his final rehab start with Binghamton, AA. But he could also be back by the weekend. I'm wondering if they'll do that, though, because the All-Star break is coming up. And if they're thinking about pushing him or not, why not wait until after the All-Star break? But we'll see what happens with that. That might be the plan anyway. And as far as pitching, Tyler McGill to start a throwing program. Now, he had a little bit of a setback, but he's going to start again with this throwing program. Most likely still won't be back till the middle of August, so we got a ways to go for him, about 5 weeks or so. Starling Marte was put on the 10-day injured list due to a knee bruise. So We'll see what happens with that. I thought I had written this down, but I saw some news here. Jesse Winker is on his way back. In fact, I believe he's in the starting lineup tonight. So I didn't get a chance to start watching that game. The Mets were in a rain delay last I checked. So, but I believe I saw that Winker was in the starting lineup tonight. So he's been out for, over a month. Good to have him back in there, and his grit and hustle, and hopefully that could have a positive impact on the team as they go forward. So that's it for now as far as Mets news, and I'm going to send it to you, Jamie, and see what's going on in Yankee land there.
Absolutely, Joe. And we're going to start out with their injury report. We begin with right-hander pitcher Yerry De Los Santos with right elbow discomfort. On July 5th, he threw 20 pitches at Citi Field in the bullpen to work on his pitch count, and his expected return is in July. Next, the big injury, right-handed pitcher, starting pitcher Clarke Schmidt with right forearm tightness. He had MRI last Friday in New York that showed damage to his right ulnar collateral ligament, according to manager Aaron Boone. The 29-year-old is going to get a second opinion, but they think that the Tommy John surgery is going to be his best bet. It would be Schmidt's second Tommy John surgery, as the first was when he attended the University of South Carolina 2017 in his junior year, right before the Yankees took him 16th overall in the first round of the MLB draft. And, his expected return is likely 2026 or 2027.
So you know what they're going to say about that. There goes John Jacob Clarke Schmidt. Right?
Yep.
It's too bad, though. You hate to see good pitchers like that go out.
He was having a career year this year, too.
And especially when they're doing well. Yeah, so, hopefully he can come back strong when he's ready in a year and a half or so.
Mm-hmm. So, anyway, we're going to move on to how did Everson Pereira hit for a AAA cycle with Scranton Wilkes-Barre? Yankees number 12 prospect Everson Pereira hit for the cycle and tallied for 7 runs as the Scranton Wilkes-Barre Rail Riders won over the Lehigh Valley Iron Pigs 16-6. It was an electric atmosphere at PNC Field in Scranton as the Rail Riders drove in 2 runs in the bottom of the first to open the scoring against Iron Pig starter Adonis Medina. Some kind of Greek god for them.
That's right.
Yankees number 30 prospect Jesus Rodriguez reached on an error, and Yankees number 2 prospect Spencer Jones, walked. After Rodriguez advanced to third on a sac fly and Jones stole second, TJ Rum Cokefield sliced a single to left, giving Scranton Wilkes-Barre a 2-0 lead.
Great puns in there. I like it.
Thanks. Scranton Wilkes-Barre extended the advantage in the bottom of the second. Duke Ellis Island singled. And number 19 prospect Jorge Vivas, who was already up with the Yankees and made his MLB debut, or got his shot in the show a month when Jazz Chisholm was out. And Rodriguez walked to load the bases with 2 outs. Pereira singled the center to put the Rail Riders ahead 4-0. The Rail Riders blew the contest with arms wide open in inning 3 and batted around the entire lineup. They went around and around and around and around and around and around. Nicky Lopez, not related to Jennifer Lopez, or as we call him, Nikki from the block instead of Jenny from the block, singled to lead off, and Alex Jackson and Vivas walked. With the bases juiced, Rodriguez lined a double down the right field line to tally 2 more scores for a 6-run cushion. Vivas scored on a sac fly from Vivas scored on a sac fly from Torres to make it 7-0 Rail Riders. From Spencer Jones to make it 7-0 Rail Riders. Oh, no, that's how Rail Riders roll. Pereira continued the offense, blasting a double off the center field wall to take an 8-run advantage. Roman Cokefield drove home Pereira with an RBI single, ending the inning up 9-0. SWB. SWB. Scranton Wilkes-Barre instead of SWV, Joe.
Yep.
But I guess Love will still be right here, even if it's SWB for Scranton, right? Anyway, Scranton Wilkes-Barre countered for 4 runs in the bottom of the 5th inning. Pereira sent a slider 459 feet over the center field wall to increase the lead to 11. Well, think about that. He's hitting 459 feet in Scranton. We already know what he has to do at Yankee Stadium, right? And he's already done that. He already had his first pop the ball up to right field in 2023.
Right.
For a home run before he got hurt.
And Yankee Stadium's like half that distance. I'm exaggerating, of course, but it's not much of an exaggeration.
Right. Pereira's 2-run shot was the longest home run by a Rail Rider this year. Lopez singled with 2 outs, and Jackson walked to set up Duke Ellis, who doubled to make it 13-0. The shutout was broken by Lehigh Valley, Weston Wilson, in the 6th with an RBI single to put Lehigh Valley on the board 13-1. After Alan Winans was pulled for Luis Pacheco, not to get it confused with Kansas City running back Isaiah Pacheco. It's easy to get them confused, right, Joe?
Right.
Different sports.
We'll start that one in a couple of weeks or whatever.
Yep.
But.
Yep. And Gabriel Nincones Jr. hit a double to score Justin Crawford to pull with an 11. Donovan Walton hit a sacrifice fly to plate Wilson to make it 13-0 Rail Riders. Pereira then made it 2 consecutive innings with a home run in the bottom of the half, deep to right, to make it 14-3. After Pereira drove in the big hit for the cycle, the Rail Riders extended their lead to 15-3. Brian De La Cruz capped off the night with a solo home run. The Rail Riders won big, 16-3. So, Joe, what do you think of Everson Pereira being the first Rail Riders player to hit for the cycle since Dustin Fowler in April 2017? You're probably thinking, who was that, right?
Yeah, I was thinking who is that. Now, I got to say, Jamie, you're on a roll with your references, so I guess I could do that. I guess he got this cycle with no training, right? I guess the Rail Riders. So I can't keep up with you with those excellent references.
No, that was great.
I'll try. So, but I don't want to get off track. So let's talk about that. Yeah, great to see. And don't you think he's going to be back with the Yankees here at some point, especially with performances like that? So, yeah, just we'll keep an eye on him. But that's an excellent performance. Anytime you get a cycle anywhere, whether it's Major League Baseball, whether it's Little League, it's an accomplishment. So he's definitely making a case for himself, and we may be seeing him back shortly.
Yeah, and like I said, he got a chance to he got called up in 2023, the year that all the rookies were getting called up because Judge was hurt that year, and he didn't do very well. He was batting 154. He batted 154.
Okay,
but he had his campaign rookie year cut short due to elbow injuries. But here's the thing, though, Joe. You also have Spencer Jones, who right now is batting 357 and 4 home runs, and he just got promoted to AAA.
Right.
And he's making the case to get that September call up too.
Okay.
And he hasn't made his debut in the big leagues yet. Everson Pereira already has, so we'll see.
Right. Well, it's not a bad problem to have, to have too much, to have to make those kind of decisions.
Yeah.
So not a bad situation at all for the Yankees to have.
But who I do think, this is going off script. Who I do think could get called up to AAA and could potentially be Anthony Revolpe's placement next year. George
Who-
Lombard Jr. Remember, I've been telling you about him.
Yes.
He's still doing well in Double A. My producer here, who also happens to be my mother, she actually thinks she thinks he's ready to make the jump from Double A to the MLB. She thinks he doesn't need to go to Triple A, but we'll see.
Wow. We'll see. Or maybe he goes to AAA real soon and gets some
And
experience.
guess
there.
what? He's not even 20 yet. He just turned 22. So
Wow.
but like I said, he made the Double A at 19. He made it Double A from High A at 19 already this year. So
Yeah, and he's showing that he's got the capability to play at a high level.
well,
So,
no,
right?
they think
We'll
he
see.
could eventually be Volpe's replacement if they don't want to keep him. But see, the one thing about Volpe is shortstop. That's all he plays. Lombard can also play second or third too. He can
Okay.
play 3 positions in the outfield, and he's got his exit velocity is already like 120 in Double A. He's already hitting that
Wow.
in Double A. So think about it. That means he's already popping the ball up at that level.
Right?
And don't forget, like I said, when he got drafted out of high school in the first round, his exit velocity was 97. Think about that in high school.
In high school.
That's impressive.
Crazy.
Mm-hmm. Yep. But that's what they're teaching these guys to do now is exit velocity. Like Ben Rice, same thing.
Hmm.
But could you imagine if that, but think about it, David Wright and Alex Rodriguez and David Ortiz, they were all exit velocity before they even started teaching them exit velocity, and Jim Tomei and Troy Gloss and all them.
Right.
Mm-hmm. So, anyway, we're going to move on to how might Cam Schlittler, I had to say that slow.
I was just going to say, make sure you say that slow.
Right.
That's an easy one to mess up.
Mm-hmm. How did he do in his MLB debut? The top pitching prospect is already generating buzz despite just being called up. Schlittler will start in place of right-hander Clark John Jacob Jingleheimer Schmidt, who is now out for the year and will require Tommy John surgery. There's a big hole now in the Bombers' starting rotation, and Schlittler needs to fill it. The flame-throwing prospect was drafted in, get this, Joe, the 7th round of the 2022 MLB draft from Northeastern University. Who would have thought that, a 7th-round pitcher, and he's making his debut?
Right? It happens every once in a while, not often, but.
Well, no, it does happen more often now because of your regular pitchers getting Tommy John these days. So
True.
Yeah. He began 2025 in Double A before getting called up to Triple A on June 1st. And get this, Joe, he was throwing 96, 97 in Triple A, or not Triple A, in spring training with the Yankees. And Aaron Boone said he was doing it against some pretty good lineups at the end. Wow. They wanted him to pass. He could have actually been in the opening day lineup, but they wanted him to get more seasoning. They wanted to see if they could get his fastball up a little bit more. Mm-hmm. So they kept him in Double A, and he got promoted up to Triple A. And like I said, he was throwing. He got his fastball up to 98, 99 in wow. Triple A, and developed a 90-mile-an-hour cutter pitch. But we'll talk about that. He improved so much from 2024 when he was mostly in High A Hudson Valley, but that he actually made it up to Triple A last year too. Mm. So between Double A and Triple A, the 24-year-old has 99 strikeouts in 76 and 2/3 innings. It has a remarkable 2.82 ERA, averaging more than 5 innings per outing. How about that? Averaging 5 innings per outing in the era of load management. That sounds about right. Huh?
Yeah, especially at that level, you know?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. According to Fangraphs, He has a 60 grade for his fastball that sits in the mid 90s, topping around 98. And like I said, he was throwing 98 in AAA and developed a 90-mile-per-hour cutter as well. And he has a low 80s curveball, that's fast for a curveball, just like Will Warren has.
Right.
But he uses that against lefties. Okay. It's still early to put a time frame on how long Schlittler will stay in the big leagues. But it's nice to see a pitching prospect of this caliber rewarded, especially with the rising number of Tommy John surgeries by today's MLB pitchers.
Mm-hmm.
So, Joe, what do you think of Cam Schlittler going to be making his debut tomorrow against Seattle in the show?
Yeah, just like those other players you were just talking about. I mean, it's well-deserved when you have impressive stats like that. And now you have all these modern stats that I'm a stats guy, but I still can't keep track of a lot of that stuff. But I think you said it right there. Just, some of those numbers and some of those performances definitely shows that he's deserved the opportunity to be here in the major leagues. And it's good to see him get that shot. And I certainly hope he does well with it.
Mm-hmm. So, anyway, we're going to move on to a more serious but nice topic. Why Aaron Boone preaching calmness means he's serious about keeping his job. And this is no joke, Joe. I think he really is serious about keeping his job because Michael Kay said it. Like a lot of the old-time Yankee fans and Mets fans who grew up with these managers that would throw players under the bus during bad times. Mm-hmm. Michael Kay said, you're not going to get that nowadays because if they do that, they lose their job.
That's true. So, you blink the wrong way and you lose your job these days.
Yeah, so that's why, and he's always been a calm, positive guy, and that's actually helped the Yankees get out of their streaks. That's what's they have a reputation for getting out of those streaks because of that too.
Right,
staying calm and everything. Kind of like Joe Torre was the same way. I feel like he's doing the same thing.
Yeah.
3 years ago, Yankees manager Aaron Boone pounded his fist on the podium, fuming a plastic water bottle, jumping into the air while saying, it's right there in front of us. But last Thursday night, Boone chose a more zen method of notification following an 8-5 loss to the Blue Jays at Rogers Center that completed a 4-game sweep. Calmer and more chi, Boone reminded his players behind closed doors that the Yankees are, quote, the best team in the league, according to infielder Jazz Chisholm Jr. It's kind of like it gives you nostalgia of when Jim Fossil and the Giants, when Jim Fossil was at the podium and he was 7-4 and he looked the media in the eye and he said, this team is going to the playoffs. What happened to that, Joe? They ran the table all the way to the Super Bowl before they lost at 7-4. So that's what Aaron Boone kind of did there, but behind closed doors. And we have a quote here. We knew what we were going to hit a speed bump, said Chisholm, who summarized Boone messages. Just block out the noise and go out there when we get back at home in New York on Friday and do just what we do. Once upon a time, the Yankees held a 7-game league in the American League East as recently as May 28th, but now they have lost 14 of their past 20 to lose their grasp on the division. Toronto, who was 49-38 at the time, moved into the top spot with Thursday's outcome. The Yanks, 48-39, were tied with the race for second place, but have the tiebreaker over the race for second. So anyway, now we're going to move on to why has Luke Dream Weaver been giving up the nightmare home run ball in key moments of the game? Luke Dream Weaver promised to keep it real with his post-game remarks, and he did. Following the Yankees' most recent defeat, Weaver admitted that it has been devastating to absorb his performances since returning from the injured list. The reliever pleads that the ball feels good coming out of his hand, but the hitters are saying something different. Weaver gave up a home run for a third consecutive outing on Friday, and it proved deadly. And we have a quote here. I've said that I've been feeling good, but that just might be a lie now, said Weaver, who served up Jeff McNeil's go-ahead 2-run blast in the Yankees' 6-5 loss to the Mets in the opener of Citi Field of the Subway Series, it's hard to make sense of what's been going on.
Mm.
Boone wants his players to be unfazed during the slide. And we have a quote, "I don't want us to flinch," Boone said. "I want us to come here ready to prepare, compete, win. We're preparing to go out there and compete our tails off. And I know if we do that well enough over time, we'll win." So, and we have another quote. "So trust me, when you're living this life, whether as his manager, coaches, staff, certainly players, it's hard. It's not fun. We work really hard every day, all season long, and it's about shaking hands at the end of the day." Aaron Judge voiced similar thoughts, preaching steady vibes. And we quote, "You can't panic. It's not going to help the situation," Judge said. "We got work to do. We came here to Toronto. Things didn't go our way. We got to focus on all we could do is just keep focusing on the present and the game that we got in front of us." Yeah, it's much easier said than done, as per Luke Weaver, who was frustrated with his outing. "I'll be very raw and honest that I do feel slightly phased right now," Weaver said, "but that's not going to escalate to a point where it's going to affect me further. Sometimes the truth hurts, and we got to just do a better job." So, Joe, after hearing all these points of view, why do you think Aaron Boone's positive approach has always seemed to work when the team has been in these summer slumps?
I just think that's the best way to handle any situation as a manager. I mean, yes, sometimes you got to maybe pound the fist a little bit when you feel like a shakeup is needed. But like you said, in today's day and age, you got to be so careful with these guys and what you say, what you do, how you say it. So, yeah, but in all aspects of life, I'm a teacher in a classroom, and things are going to go wrong in the classroom. But you know what? The more I handle it in a calm, easy manner, peaceful manner, the better it gets resolved. So it's like that in all areas of life, including sports. It wasn't always like that, like you said, but that's just the best way to handle it. And Aaron Boone is no dummy. He knows his job is on shaky ground these days. So he's not going to want to risk doing anything that's going to make it even worse. So, and that's just the kind of personality he is anyway. I think if he kind of goes in the other direction, that just goes against the way he is. It goes against his personality. So I think, again, first of all, and again, you've basically said this already, it's the best way to handle it. And I think it just fits more in line with his personality anyway.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that, Joe. Anyway, Joe, guess what? It is now that time in our show for our question of the week segment. Would you like to give it a try?
I would love to give it a try, and I'll address a comment that we got a few minutes ago. Somebody doing their homework better than I am here, so we'll talk about that. Hopefully, they're still with us. But yes, let's try this trivia question here.
Okay, Joe, here's your question. Can you guess this MLB player? He played on 4 teams, was a 2-time All-Star, and he hit 303 home runs. Is it Andrew McCutchen? Just kidding, McCutchen. Kyle Schwarber, Eugenio Suarez, or Carlos Santana? I'm a black magic woman.
Yeah. 303 home runs. See, that's a tough one because I think Schwarber's only been on 2 teams. And then who was the one you mentioned after Schwarber?
Eugenio Suarez.
Suarez, I don't think he's been on 4 teams. I'm going to have to go with McClutch, Andrew McClutchen.
No, it was actually Kyle Schwarber.
It was really? He's been on 4 teams?
Yeah.
Wow. Doesn't say. I know he's been on the Cubs and Phillies. Trying to think where else he might have been. Okay, maybe I missed something in there.
Mm-hmm. Anyway, good try, Joe.
Yeah, excellent question.
Wait, Joe, will you go to the comment?
Yeah. Now, basically, if you're okay, I'll just kind of lead in with the stats here. Now, this was right after I said my piece about people coming back from injury. I was talking about some pitchers that could be starting this weekend or maybe after the All-Star game. And again, I appreciate the comment from, it says the baseball purist is the person that sent that. Apparently with more information and again, doing better homework than I am here. Now, his comment says Senga is scheduled to start Friday against the Royals, and Sean Manaea potentially starting Sunday. So before the All-Star break. So I appreciate that. I didn't have that information. But first of all, thanks so much for the comment. Hopefully you're still watching. And thanks for that great information. But I could take that and lead it into my Mets info here. So we'll be keeping an eye on Manaea and Senga there. Now, this time last week, we were talking about one of the worst beatdowns in the history of baseball. And again, I couldn't figure out how the Mets had set that history against one of the worst teams in the National League, the Pittsburgh Pirates, and things weren't looking good. But this past week, this is the Mets that we know. 4-2 record. All 6 of those games were at home. So again, the Mets have the best record in baseball at home at 33-14. So they continue to play excellent baseball there. So they took 2 out of 3 against the Brewers, and 2 out of 3 against the Yankees. Now, I have to say this. I was able to watch the first 2 games. The Mets were bound and determined to win that first game that was on the 4th of July. They, again, had come off such a disappointing road trip and that thrashing that should have never happened. I think even they can't figure out what happened in that series. But they were winning the game. It was going back and forth against the Yankees there. The Yankees were winning, and then the Mets went ahead. And that's the type of game that the Mets were losing a week or 2 ago. And I think they were so determined to get back to the positive momentum here that once they got that lead, that again, you mentioned McNeil hitting the go-ahead home run, they were not going to lose that game. And the Yankees did everything possible to come back. And I was so afraid they were going to. And again, they were in a situation where I think they just needed one hit, and then Aaron Judge was going to come up with runners on base with a chance to, score the tying or go ahead runs there in the 9th for the Yankees. And, it was, and they had already used Edwin Diaz as well. So, it was just, with, who am I talking about here? The pitcher, but he, without their closer, again, the guys wanted to win that game badly, and they did. And I think you could see the relief the next day, because that's the game that the Mets just went crazy. And it seems like the Yankees didn't have a chance there. The Mets were just on a rampage. So it was just great to see that they were determined to win, and they were able to pull that off. So at this point, again, the best record in baseball at home. 52-39 overall now, 1 game out of first. So going into the All-Star game again, things were a little bit better a few weeks ago, but if you would have told me they'd have this record, a game out of first place heading towards the All-Star break, I'd say, count me in. I'm totally okay with that. Now, the hitting star here this week, Brandon Nimmo, hit a grand slam in that Saturday game against the Yankees. Through the week, 3 home runs, 9 RBIs, a 10-16 OPS. So definitely the hitting star there. Pete Alonso, great game there, or great week, but a couple of great games against the Yankees as well. Never had success against Rodon, but hit a big home run in that game. 2 home runs, 8 RBIs. He's still 5th in Major League Baseball in RBIs with 73. In case you're wondering, he's only 4 behind Suzuki of the Cubs, who's got 77. And Pete Alonso had an almost 1,000 OPS, 956 OPS. Other guys doing great. Francisco Lindor with 6 RBIs and a home run this week and 929 OPS. Jeff McNeil and Juan Soto continue. They each had a home run, OPS in the 900s. Even Ronnie Mauricio, who again getting some playing time, deservedly so. Now he only had half the at-bats of these other guys, but 10 at-bats, but still hit didn't bat 500, but a 500 on base percentage and a 500 slugging percentage. So he continues to progress there. Much better pitching for the Mets, including David Peterson, who was their staff MVP the first half of the year, but got lit up, by the Phillies and had a couple of bad outings in a row, but an excellent comeback outing here. 6 2/3 innings, 5 hits, 1 earned run. So definitely good to see. Again, bouncing back, Huáscar Brazoban, who's been absolutely shelled the last couple of weeks, especially in that Pirates series. He actually started a game. Was just acted as a starter there, just like an inning or so. Overall for the week, 3 innings pitched, 2 hits. I did have 3 walks, but 6 strikeouts through those 3 innings. Ryan Stanek with a nice week, 3 innings pitched, 7 strikeouts in those 3 innings, only gave up 2 hits and an earned run. Edwin Diaz pitching like Edwin Diaz, 3 1/3 innings pitched, also with 7 strikeouts, 2 saves during the week. And Clay Holmes continues to provide good starts, 5 1/3. Frankie Montas, 5 2/3. So, good starting pitching there and solid relief for them as well. So now a big test coming up for the Mets because their road record hasn't been good. In fact, only 19-25 for the year, and a big difference between the home record there. So a 6-game road trip here before the All-Star break, 3 in Baltimore tonight, tomorrow, and Thursday. And then the weekend, Friday, Saturday, Sunday in Kansas City, a la 2015. But in Kansas City against the Royals. And again, potentially with Senga and Manaea pitching in those games. So we'll see. Big test for the Mets here. And hopefully they can, come back and play good baseball on the road. If they can take, even I would take 3 3 here, but let's go for 4 2. Because these are certainly 2 teams that, don't have as good a record as the Mets. Both are a little bit disappointing this year. So let's go for 4 2 there and see if we can get that and keep that momentum going into the All-Star break. So that's basically where we are as far as the Mets. A lot more optimistic than we were at this time last week. And we'll send it back to you, Jamie.
Yeah, thank you very much, Joe. So, in the grand scheme of things, that is correct, as the Yanks have lost 5 in a row and 15 of their last 21. After falling out of first place in the AL East on Thursday at Toronto, they hinted at a rebound on Friday, but couldn't get the job done. And we have a quote here from Mr. Volpe. I feel like we're playing well at times, and then we're just not finding ways to win games, said shortstop Anthony Volpe. That's just about it. And that's true because their offense in those games were playing well, but they got so far behind that it was too late. Mm-hmm. So inconsistency, that's the thing.
Yeah.
And Weaver had a 1.05 ERA across his first 25 2/3 innings in a period during which he had supplemented Devin Williams in the closer's role. And we have a quote here from Weaver. I think at this point I got 2 options, Weaver said. I could sulk and feel bad for myself, or I could foundationally grind and find a way to be flat out better for myself, for my teammates, for this team in general, and for the fans. I don't want to be too hard on myself, but at the end of the day, what else is there? Mm-hmm. Right. Manager Aaron Boone trusts Weaver will make it through to the other side. So, Joe, what do you think, or why do you think everyone has confidence that Luke Weaver can get out of his funk?
Because of his past record. I think that's why. I like his attitude. He's in a slump. It doesn't sound like he's got answers at this point, but I think he's proven himself over time and what he's done in the past. So, it's reason for concern, obviously. And again, it doesn't sound like he's got it figured out just yet, but I like the attitude, and certainly past history says that he'll be right back and helping this team as they go forward.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. So let's now turn it back over to you, Joe, for some more Mets news. Joe?
Yeah, and that's like I said, not much more to go here as far as news. I've pretty much shared what I have, but again, let's see if they can win on the road. Right? They have struggled, especially in those past couple of series on the road last month, or the last few weeks, even before this. So again, let's go for 4-2. And if they end up 3-3 on this road trip, then I guess we can't complain too much. And, we'll pick things up after the All-Star break.
Okay. So guess what, Joe? When it rains, it pours, right?
Yeah,
but,
of course.
But as we say in Friends, what would Aaron Judge say to his team when the rain starts to pour? What happens?
When the rain starts to pour,
Think about it. TV show theme.
I'll be there for you.
You got it.
All right. I like the reference there.
Anyway,
that was
Aaron
so
Judge, when it rains, it pours. But Aaron Judge, I bet you was singing "I'll Be There for You." Anyway, right. Aaron Judge spent most of Saturday's game wearing a small white bandage under his right eye. The unintended result of a between innings toss from Anthony Volpe. Poor guy. He's already catching bad luck, and then he goes and almost injures one of their better players. I know It's not funny. I'm sorry, guys. I know it's not funny, but I mean,
it's ironic.
It's ironic. Right? Yeah.
We could say that, don't you think?
Yeah. I'm sorry. I was being insensitive laughing there, but anyway, the unintended result from Anthony Volpe. So anyway, the Yankees were jogging off the field when a ball sailed through the air and the team's best player never saw it coming. The fortunate part is Judge avoided serious injury.
Mm-hmm.
But the fourth inning mishap served as a painful metaphor for how things have gone and missed their ongoing slide. And to give a touch of Back to the Future, the latest loss in visited calls of Casey Stengel's famous rant. Can anybody out here play this game? Carlos Rodon served up a first-inning grand slam, and the Yankees spent the rest of the afternoon playing catch-up, absorbing a 12-6 loss to the Mets at Citi Field. The loss extended the Yankees' losing streak to 6 games, matching their longest skid of the season, making Aaron Boone calling it a terrible week.
Mm-hmm.
And we have a quote here. It's never fun when you're going through a stretch of 6-game losses, Rodon said. The baseball season always seems to take a mental toll on guys, including me and every one of us, but it's a marathon, so you keep going. Anyway, Brandon Nimmo hit the first-inning grand slam off Rodon. Pete Alonso tagged him in the 5th for the first of his 2 homers, part of a 5 RBI performance, saying he had a lot of misses and fell behind. So, guys, Rodon was charged with 7 runs, 6 earned over 5 innings. The Yankees offense showed life as Jazz Chisholm Jr., Austin Wells, and Volpe all homered the first 2 blasts coming off Frankie Montas, while Cody Bellinger had a 2-run double. And we have a quote, the boys were fighting back, Judge said. We were clawing back all game. And as Boone said, offense hasn't been the most pressing issue during the skid. Pitching and defense continued to be the primary culprits.
Mm-hmm.
Over their past 6 games, the Yankees starters have posted an 8.36 ERA, 26 earned runs in 28 innings, and the bullpen hasn't been any better. An 11.65 ERA with 22 earned runs in 17 innings. And we have a quote, we just got to prevent runs better, Boone said. That's what has hurt us this week. We're swinging the bat. We're putting some points on the board, but it's been a tough week for us slowing down some offenses. Not positive at all, considering that the team announced Clark, John Jacob, Jingleheimer Schmidt will need Tommy John surgery. Anyway, the glove work was bad as well. Jason Dominguez couldn't catch up to a first inning double. Chisholm made a throwing error that led to a second inning run, and Trent Grisham, or Reggie Jackson lookalike, bobbled the ball in center field during the fourth run seventh. Zooming out, the Bombers have lost 16 of their past 22 games, a span that has seen them squander a 7-game lead in the AL East. Boone said he views that as mostly the result of a pair of 6-game slides, the one from June 13th to 18th, when they struggled to score runs, and the reality they're currently living. And we have a quote: "These are the moments that build character as a team and also help you find out and define what the heck you need moving forward and where you need to change," Boone said. After losing Schmidt, Yankees GM Brian Cashman will be going shopping for a starting pitcher as well. You get a pitcher, and you get a pitcher, and you get a pitcher. As at least one reliever to aid a gassed bullpen. Cashman has previously outlined the perimeters as pitching, location, pitching. The Yankees are showing interest on an infielder, particularly a second baseman. They'd also need to acquire a third baseman who would allow for Chisholm to go back to second, his natural position, which actually tonight Oswaldo Peraza was playing third, and they moved Jazz to second, and they benched DJ LeMahieu. So I guess DJ doesn't have us falling in love again anymore, right?
No, again, you're on a roll with those things. I did read somewhere tonight that Jazz was going back to second.
Yep. Meanwhile, Judge said the current roster must focus on fundamentals and completing routine plays. And we have a quote: "Every good team goes through a couple of bumps in the road," Judge said. "We can't let it alter what our ultimate goal is. We got to keep moving forward and clean some things up." So, Joe, when things go bad, they go bad. But how do the Yankees keep sending positive vibes to get this team back on the winning track?
Well, it's just a matter of knowing who you are. You know, the Mets are kind of went through that. You know, they had their slump. And then again, to get a historic beating by a horrible team, they could have just kind of folded it up and lost confidence. But they know that they're a very good team, and they know what kind of team they've had all season long. And now, hopefully, you know, knock on wood, they're on the right track again. I think the Yankees just have to do the same thing. Just know that who they are. They're a great team, and they played great baseball the first part of the season. And again, it's just there's 162 games in the season. Like I said last week when I was talking about the Mets, 162 games. It's a marathon, not a sprint. Now, again, you got to hopefully figure it out soon because, believe it or not, I mean, we're heading into the heart of the summer here now. We're going to be post All-Star break, you know, in a week and a half here. So, you know, as far as they're concerned, I mean, they're going to have to figure it out quickly before it gets too far off the rails and out of hand. But just know who you are. You're a great team. You're one of the best teams in the American League. You're a World Series contender. You were before, and even though you're going through this, you still are now. You just have to play like it, show it, know that you're going to get out of this slump and move forward. And I think you'll see that with them.
Yep. Well, it looks like we come to the end of our show. So, Joe, where can we find you in the social media world on Tuesday, July 8th, 2025?
Absolutely nuts that we're talking about July here. I don't know if you heard this or read this, just a little tidbit here. As of July 2nd, which was the halfway mark of this year, do you know we are closer to 2050 than we are to 2000 at this point? Kind of crazy.
Really?
Shows you how fast time goes. But anyway, I'll share maybe not a cool facts like that, but some sports takes on Twitter X. Joe Dell Sports is where you can find me there on social media.
Mm-hmm. And Joe, because you can share that fact because because it's a Subway conversation to what happened in the year 2000.
Yeah, there you go. But believe it or not, so you're saying that they're going to meet in the World Series in 2050? So, but yeah, believe it or not, we're further away from that than 2050. So hard to believe.
Because think about it, it's 25 years. 2000 was 25 years ago, and 2050 is 25 years later. So I get that.
Yeah. So we'll set up for that Subway Series now. Hopefully I'll still be here for it.
Anyway, well, it looks like we come to the end of our show. So, Joe, where can we find? Oh, no, I already said that. Never mind. Sorry, folks. Anyway, you can find me on yours truly, on Bill's Chat 1, at Bill's Mafia Chat, and also at Jamie Malloy, the unbiased journalist, at DJ Dog Tags on X, theforkball.com, and stadiumrat.com, where I write about all sports. You can also tune in. Thank you guys for tuning in. And be sure to keep tuning in every Tuesday night at 8:00 p.m. on Driving the Top Productions as Joe and I host this podcast. Check this episode out later when it goes on YouTube, or if you're listening live and commenting, thank you very much. We appreciate the comments and the viewers that we have. You can also follow me and Joe on Open Sports, Mike, which is going to be starting very, very soon after we wrap this show up. I'll be going on. So we'll see what they'll be talking over there. And then you can also catch me every Wednesday night at 9:00 p.m. on Smoking Jeremy B's Huddle Sports Network, where we talk all things football with our roundtables. And then you could, and then starting February on Thursdays, you could catch me, Adam, Jeremy, and Marcus, as we'll be doing season 3 or season 2, which will be season 3 of the UFL. So don't forget to tune out that. Thank you guys very much for listening. And we look forward to you tuning back in with us next Tuesday at 8:00 p.m. on the Subway Conversation Chat. Don't forget to subscribe. And your attention, please, ladies and gentlemen. You've been listening to the Subway Conversation Chat with Jamie and Joe on Driving to the Top Productions. Have a good night, folks.
Yes. Have a great week, everybody.
Bye.